Since then, I've discovered not just a few other constructed languages have been invented over the years, but literally hundreds and hundreds of them. And I became aware of it in particular through a couple of books. The talk's called Volapük Interlingua Klingon, but as you can see, there are a number of others, plus hundreds more, which I'll just have to sort of allude to. And as I said, I believe that constructed languages are fascinating in their own right. Before we actually begin to look at some of them, it's worth bearing in mind that not all constructed languages were constructed for the same reason, such as in Esperanto, which was to be an international auxiliary language used by as many people as possible, and so it needed to be easy to learn. Some languages are constructed to be perfect, and well, if people can't learn because it's too complex for them, well, that's their problem. That's the philosophy of those kind of languages. Some people invent languages to be a work of art, or perhaps to make a work of fiction more believable, make it richer. Think Lord of the Rings and so on. Some people invent languages just as an as an interesting experiment to answer the question, what would a language be like if ... fill the rest. So it's like a scientific thing. As I said, I'm not a linguist. These are the books. Oh, that's right. I forgot to do the PowerPoint thing. There we go. These are the two books. In the Land of Invented Languages, Esperanto Rock Stars, Klingon Poets, Logland Lovers, and the Mad Dreamers Who Tried to Build a Perfect Language. Rather a long title, but very interesting read. And this one, which is written in Esperanto, En la cercado del mondo lingvo, au interlinguistico por ĉiuj, or In the Search for a World Language, or Interlinguistics for Everyone. And it's sort of an academic book, but not too academic. So, once I thought that Volapük, which was invented in 1879, thereabouts, was the first constructed language, just a bit before Esperanto. However, the first that we know of, I now discover, is lingua ignota, which just means unknown language, by Saint Hildegard von Bingen, an abbess and now a saint from the 12th century, based heavily on Latin, and here are 5 words. I don't actually have any complete sentences in it. We don't really know what the purpose of lingua ignota was because Hildegard von Bingen didn't explain. It was private, but there was a sudden explosion in new constructed languages, or conlangs as they're sometimes said and referred to, in the 17th century. And one of those was this one, Real Character and Philosophical Language, bit of a mouthful, by John Wilkins, 1668, and that's the title page of the book that he published. Real character is a family of symbols corresponding to a very complex classification system. In fact, it was a classification system for the entire universe, as he knew it at the time. A bit like Roget's Thesaurus. Anybody looked at the beginning of Roget's Thesaurus before you actually get into the words? It actually breaks down everything you'd ever want to know into categories, subcategories, sub-subcategories, and so on. So this is a bit like Roget's Thesaurus, but it turned into a kind of language. It was intended mainly for scholars, but also for diplomats, travellers, merchants. So here's a little bit, we're going to go down one trunk, branch, and so on in Wilkins' tree of the universe. So, category 18 is beasts, which divides into live birthing and egg laying. Live birthing beasts divide into whole-footed, cloven-footed, and clawed. Clawed divides into rapacious and non-rapacious, of course. Rapacious divides into cat kind, roundish-headed, dog kind, oblong-headed. The dog kind divides into European and exotic. Bit of a Eurocentric view there. European divides into terrestrial and amphibious. Terrestrial divides into greater kind and lesser kind. Greater kind divides into dog, docile, and wolf, wild. I don't know where fox fits in there, or all the other wild dogs, but anyway. So according to Wilkins' system, a dog is a docile, oblong-headed, rapacious-clawed, live-birthing beast. Fine, okay. That's not yet a language. So here's the language part. The symbols. That's the sort of the base where the symbols get added. So there's beast, okay, that's pronounced Z. Oblong-headed, so he actually leaves out some of the subcategories there, otherwise the words would be very long. T, greater kind, with the alpha sign. So zeta is the word for dog, and that's how it's spelled. That's the symbol for it. If you want wolf, then you add this little circle which shows a minor opposition, and there's zetas. Please speak Ladan, and I haven't actually included Ladan, there it is, and then you add the F on the end to show that it's the object of the sentence. So it's kind of intriguing. Toki Pona is another one from 2001, a minimalist language inspired by Teo. Only has 14 phonemes, and there they are, and 123 root words, including Toki, which means talking, language to talk, speech to speak, communicate, communication. Pona means good, goodness, simplicity, ideal, nice, repair, anything that's sort of vaguely like that, and you kind of get to make yourself understood. It's an a posteriori language. The roots come from a rather different group of languages to the ones you're used to. English, Tokpisin, Finnish, Georgian, Dutch, Akkadian French, Esperanto, Croatian and Chinese. So it's quite democratic, but does that make the language easier to pick up? Well, here's a sample, a very popular bit of text that's often translated to show differences in language. Anybody want to make a guess?
Oh, Lord's Prayer?
The Lord's Prayer, very good. I guess it starts with Mama, which I guess is connected to our Father in heaven.